What does the words backyard breeder conjure up in your mind? Do you think of awful people that are trying to make quick cash? Very possibly. But let's go exploring into the world of backyard breeding and see if this is truly the case. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Val Talks Pets, the forum for pet parents and enthusiasts alike. Having been in the pet industry for more than 15 years now, I am going to share with you issues and questions that arise as I work with pet parents on a day-to-day basis. I am not a veterinarian, but I do have certifications in canine, feline, small animal, fish and herptile, and avian health and nutrition from the University of California, Davis Extension. I'll tell you how this topic came about. A couple that comes in fairly regularly announced that their dog was having puppies. Okay. My question was, how did that happen? Was it on purpose, or what is the story? She says that she specifically bred her Jack Russell to a friend's dog of another breed because at one time she had this particular mixed breed and the dog was fantastic. I bit my tongue here because all the things I wanted to say were, you do realize you can't pick and choose DNA. And there is no guarantee the puppies will in any way be like the dog you had. And why did you do this? There are so many amazing dogs needing homes. Why would you deliberately contribute to the crisis? If someone was up for a puppy that you are planning to sell, then they could easily have gone to a shelter or rescue and adopted a dog that is living in a kennel. Basically, I felt, well, good for you. You just successfully made yourself a backyard breeder. Then I started thinking, are they considered backyard breeders when they are people with affluence? They will take extremely good care of the puppies and will make sure they get good homes. Of course, there will be a fee. Don't get me wrong, I still think what they did was irresponsible and selfish. But do they deserve to be called backyard breeders based on the connotation those words create? Puppies and where they come from is not the only issue. It's also how are they created, meaning what decisions went into the breeding and why and which dogs were chosen for the breeding. And what happens to the dogs after they are sold? And they are sold. Regardless of the intention, whether it is a thoughtful process or not, these pups are sold and money is changing hands. So I started to do some researching and I found that there is actually a whole list of classifications that backyard breeders fall into. So let's go through these and then we can see how we feel about the whole backyard breeder issue. The first one is the one that shouldn't actually happen these days, and that is the accidental litter. This is when a litter happens because the dog was not spayed and it may have escaped, or they have another dog in the house that is not neutered. First, you should never have two dogs of different gender in the same household without one of them being fixed. Both should be fixed. The accidental litter used to happen legitimately because at one time there wasn't as much information or knowledge or care, for that matter, to have your pet dog spayed or neutered. As Bob Barker used to say, help control the pet population and have your pet spayed or neutered. And not to stray too far here, this is one of the reasons that I find the trend to not have dogs spayed and particularly neutered until they reach a year is really concerning for this very issue. Anyway, say this has happened and it wasn't something that was planned. Now there is a litter of puppies of whatever origin and they will need homes. In this case, more than likely, the puppies will be sold off somewhat cheaply, more than likely put online, usually Kijiji. Some may even be given away to friends or family. Rarely do these dogs have shots or have gone to a veterinarian. Some will, of course. And after the pup is gone, there is no follow-up or support. Hopefully, this is the last time this happens. The next classification is the "my dog is cute" breeder. I think this is the one for the people I mentioned earlier. In this case, the pet parent loves their dog and thinks that others would want a dog just like theirs. These owners don't necessarily have any breeding knowledge and rarely do any health testing on the two dogs being bred. They give the reasons for the breeding as their dog is so cute or has such a nice personality. There is no genetic responsibility here. The process is emotionally based on the dog's appearance or personality. The people that do this sound like they are caring people that will take a good care of the pups, which they probably do. But having affection for the dog and puppies is not the same as responsible breeding. Next is the hobby backyard breeder. These people will breed occasionally, and usually it is their own pets. But again, why do they have non-spayed or non-neutered dogs? This type of breeder may present themselves as a small family breeder. They more than likely are trying to have a bit of side income and may take the pups to the vet for a health checkup. But no breed-specific testing has taken place. They often look legitimate on the surface, but in actuality, there is a lack of responsible breeding standards. Next is the trend chaser breeder. This one really bugs me. These are people that follow whatever is trending in the dog world. Whatever it is, specific crossbreeds like all the dogs being crossed with poodles, to creating colors that can be very controversial. Check out my episode on Labrador Retrievers and the issue with Silver Labs. These people will breed indiscriminately to get smaller sizes, designer mixes, you name it. These guys are after the profit and rarely have the dog's veterinarian supported. Why would they, when they know they were only breeding to get what they know will sell? These guys are dangerous because they are only looking at what trend they can jump on for the money. So many people have been taken advantage of by this kind of breeder solely because they too are just trying to be a part of the trend. All it takes is some celebrity or a movie to create a whole host of poorly bred dogs and scam artists. Next is the volume backyard breeder. These guys are one of the ones that define backyard breeder. These guys have multiple litters and often offer several breeds. They may be in a home, but could very likely be in a rural property because this will afford them the space needed for all the dogs. This is their income. These guys usually have a bunch of dogs, so proper care and socializing is not a priority. These guys often cross the line into the puppy milling area, especially when they seem to always have puppies available and several breeds available. There is no discrimination going on as to where the puppies go as well. If you have cash, you get a pup. This can also bring in the unethical practice of biomedical researchers trolling for pups for their facilities. The next class is the online marketplace breeder. These guys rely on social media, Facebook, Kijiji, online ads, direct messaging, etc. They may have a small or large operation, but the intent is the same. Quick sales, first come, first served. These people may also be the ones who scam potential buyers by setting up a sale, but having no intention of fulfilling the sale. And of course, the health and breeding standards are nowhere to be found. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Do not go on social media platforms to find pets. Our next class is the papered but poor practice breeder. This breeder uses registration papers, pedigrees, or kennel terminology to seem responsible, but their actual practices are weak. These guys are all about the sale as well, and they will sound like they have a legitimate facility. However, they may throw around the word registered, but when you dig a bit, you'll find that the registration doesn't actually exist, or they made up their own registration. It's possible that one of the dogs may have been registered with an accredited organization, but subsequent dogs have not been registered, but they are using the registration of the one dog to imply they are all registered. Next, we have the neglectful backyard breeder. This is the one we usually think of when we hear the words backyard breeder. In this case, the person is producing huge numbers and the care and standards are poor. Dogs are often kept in dirty spaces, not socialized, poorly groomed, under-vetted, or repeatedly bred without proper recovery. These dogs are walking a very fine line between backyard breeder and puppy mill. The welfare of the mothers and the puppies is low. Vet care is probably non-existent, and the whole operation is for money. Personally, I would put these guys in the category of puppy millers. Which brings us to the last category, which is the small-scale puppy mill. If we look at backyard breeders on a spectrum, the small-scale puppy mill is at the far end. The mindset here is that the dogs are for profit and treated as breeding stock. Animal welfare is the biggest concern. Now, here's the kicker. They may actually use nice photos, stage a living room with photos of people receiving their cute puppy, and definitely lie and smokescreen where the dogs are actually kept. Well, if at this point you're wondering how you can ever be safe from being scammed, there are a few things to look at. So let's take a look at what a responsible breeder does versus the backyard breeder. A responsible breeder will do breed-specific testing. A backyard breeder will only get the pups vet checked. A responsible breeder will have a clear purpose for each pairing. A backyard breeder will breed because they are cute or great pets. A responsible breeder will screen buyers carefully. A backyard breeder will sell to whoever pays. A responsible breeder will take a dog back if needed. A backyard breeder will disappear after the sale. A responsible breeder raises puppies with structure and socialization. A backyard breeder has puppies that just grow up in the house. A responsible breeder knows genetics, temperament, and structure. A backyard breeder focuses on color, size, or price. A responsible breeder has limited planned litters. A backyard breeder breeds whenever convenient or profitable. So let's go a step further and define what is a legitimate dog breeder. A legitimate dog breeder prioritizes the health, well-being, and welfare of their dogs, adhering to responsible breeding practices. They conduct thorough health screenings, socialization, and temperament testing on their breeding stock. Legitimate breeders are transparent about their practices, maintain clean and safe facilities, and provide detailed information about their breeding programs. They are often members of reputable organizations like the American Kennel Club, the Canadian Kennel Club, or the United Kennel Club, ensuring they meet strict standards for breeding. The idea of breeding dogs, period, has come under scrutiny. There are dogs all over the world that, due to a lack of care and standards, procreate at alarming rates. For this reason, shelters and rescues struggle on an ongoing basis. There was a movement for a while that advocated for a ban on all breeding. But as was pointed out from the other side of the coin, proper registered purebred breeders are not the cause of animals in shelters. Registered purebred breeders are conserving breeds, many that are in jeopardy of being wiped out. The Dandy Dinmont Terrier, for example, had its club formed in 1875. The breed is currently considered a vulnerable native breed by the UK Kennel Club. This designation indicates that the breed is at risk of extinction due to a shrinking gene pool. The AKC and the CKC are also working to save the Dandy. So, in this respect, the breeding is not indiscriminate. This is a historic cultural breed that has a history and a purpose. Purebred dog breeders are not at issue. What is at issue is the backyard breeders. In all of the classifications of backyard breeders, in my opinion, none of them need to exist. The irresponsibility of the accidental litter or the ridiculous, narcissistic, my dog is cute breeder, there is no reason to be contributing to the overpopulation of dogs all over the world. I hear on a regular basis how the dog that someone has was a rescue. That's fantastic. The rescues are from the Republic of Turkey, Greece, St. Lucia, Costa Rica, Romania, all the poor dogs in Ukraine that are desperately needing care, Texas and the southern states. It just goes on and on. In Canada, particularly in Ontario, we have northern dog rescues where dogs from First Nation reserves are taken off the streets and sent to shelters across the province. Dogs are everywhere. And as I have said, pet parents that spoil and adore their pets are actually a small percentage of the world. Dogs and animals in general are tortured, trafficked, and treated like garbage all over the world. And to be honest, those backyard breeders that breed indiscriminately for money are just as bad. The point I'm trying to make here is this. There are wonderful dogs and puppies all over the world. The lucky ones are the ones that get rescued and end up in a proper shelter or rescue, where they are fed and cared for, and adoption is a real possibility. If a crossbreed or mixed breed is what you are looking for, there is no reason to look any further than your local shelter or rescue. There are even purebred dogs that end up in shelters, and there are breed-specific rescues. The words backyard breeder does conjure up the idea of poorly bred and poorly housed puppies. We think of them as opportunistic people just looking for a patsy to sell a dog. In most cases, this is the truth. But then you throw into the mix my dog is cute breeder or the hobby backyard breeder who can definitely care for the pups and treat them very well. But the question is, did they really need to have a litter of puppies? As I said, there are puppies and young dogs at shelters that are begging for homes. Well, you made some money, didn't you? Having said all this, I think that it is interesting that the backyard breeder definition actually has a spectrum of classification. However, as a whole, none of them should exist. The trick now is to learn how to avoid being scammed or avoid innocently participating. In my episode, Where to Get a Pet, I've got lots of advice and all the pitfalls outlined, so access that before getting involved with a backyard breeder. As I have said, there are so many dogs and puppies all over the world that need homes. Can we control the pet population? To a certain extent, we can with accessible spay and neutering programs and the curtailing of unregistered breeding. But Some of the countries where many homeless dogs roam are just not going to take dog overpopulation as a national crisis due to other national issues that take priority. Therefore, dogs are available and they are making puppies. There are many organizations that would love to get puppies and dogs to wonderful homes. An online search for rescues is easy to do. Backyard breeders do not need to exist, and animal lovers the world over do not need to buy puppies from them. Do a little research, as the info is there, because as I say, knowing is caring. Thank you for listening to Val Talks Pets. Please remember to follow and subscribe to ensure that you never miss an episode. To really help the show and make it easier for others to find, please rate and review each episode that you find interesting and helpful. And don't forget that you can also email me at val@valtalkspet.com with any topics that you would like me to address or with any questions you may have. Also, check out my website at valtalkspet.com for more information and cute pet pictures. Thanks for caring.